550, it's McGraw in the morning on the Big 550 KTRS.
All right, Scott Carothers and Steve Nicholas. Another week gets us going. Let's go all the way back to Friday. Had a little bit of a down day as we flirt with 21,000 on the Dow. What happened on Friday?
Exactly. Friday, the Dow was down 41 points, closed at 20,941. We had good earnings, especially from energy companies, but a lower GDP report kept the market in check. Earnings are growing 12% from last year, much better than the 9% growth we were expecting at the start of earnings season. Also, the Dow was up 1% for the week and up over 6.5% for the year. So we still had a pretty good start to the year.
All right, let's get to some company news. You mentioned that GDP number. What happened?
Yes, first quarter GDP came in up 0.7%, much lower than the 1% growth we were looking for. We spent less for cars and home heating. On the bright side, wages and benefits rose at the fastest pace since 2007. Also, the GDP report often starts slow and gains momentum in the spring and summer months. So we have that to look forward to. So.
Yeah, over the last couple of years, that first quarter GDP has always been a somewhat sluggish number, but we do seem to rebound. So I don't know. Some people say it's some type of anomaly in this first quarter, but for whatever reason. What are we hearing from Exxon and Chevron?
Well, they both reported strong earnings, showing that the U.S. oil is back in business. Exxon had their best quarter since 2015 and more than doubled their first quarter number from last year. Chevron made $2.7 billion profit after reporting a loss at this time last year. U.S. oil production is now averaging 9.3 million barrels a day, 3% below its all-time peak. So, pretty good sign there.
And then finally, what are we hearing from the Tribune Company?
Right. It looks like there might be a bidding war for Tribune Media, one of the largest owners of local TV stations, including KPLR and KTVI here in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Sinclair Broadcasting, Fox, and Blackstone are all in the fray. Sinclair seems to have the most to gain, and Fox seems to want it just to keep it away from Sinclair. But we'll see how that turns out in the long run.
So Fox is looking at buying Tribune?
Well, they're all in the mix. Sinclair Broadcasting, Fox, and Blackstone are all in the fray.
Wow, that's interesting because Sinclair here locally, I believe they own ABC 30. So they wouldn't be able to keep all three, I don't think. So that would be an interesting play if Tribune, which also owns some pretty big radio stations as well. That's interesting news. All right, Scott Carothers with Steve Nicholas. What are we hearing today?
Today, the Dow looks up 30 points. It will be another busy week for earnings, and we expect Apple to report over $250 billion in cash tomorrow. And later in the week, we hear from Mr. Buffett and more about his $86 million in cash that he has sitting there. So.
You know what's interesting is that Fox sold Fox TV, the company, as well as KPLR, to sort of finance the Wall Street Journal a couple of years ago. So it'd be interesting if they bought it back after all this time. What a world.
I know it's kind of funny how that kind of works. It always seems like companies are either acquiring or spinning off.
Yeah,
so, I don't know.
It's an interesting world. All right, Scott Carothers, read the tea leaves for us today, and then come back tomorrow and tell us all about it.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot.
644, Big 550, KTRS. Gelman.